We got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So, everybody out there, y'all know me as Diamond. My name is Fayletta. But Diamond, Fayletta, Love Letter, I'm here.
I know that's right. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the people who ain't too familiar, we're gonna start from the beginning.
Okay.
Where you from and how'd you grow up?
Okay, so I am originally from Galesburg, Illinois. My mom was born in Chicago, so I went from Galesburg to Chicago. Um, Lived in Illinois for 20 years. Went from okay, so I went from Galesburg back and forth to Chicago, down to Carbondale, which is where I went to school. I went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. Went back to Chicago and then moved to San Bernardino, California. Did about 12 years there, and then moved to Vegas. Been in Vegas 8 years now.
Growing up, where you from in Illinois? What was childhood like for you?
Whew. Okay, so I'm the oldest of six kids. So for me, like, I had a good childhood. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, it was good. Like, I was raised solely by my mom. So, growing up in a single parent family where I'm the oldest, so I gotta help take care of the kids. You feel me? Grew up in the projects, um, which most black families did. We struggled. But my mom did what she had to do to make sure we were straight. She did work. We was on food stamps like everybody else. We had to get it. We had to get it out the mud. But like we had a good childhood. Like it was six of us, so we got to kind of feed off each other and bounce off each other. You know what I'm saying? Summer times you got the fire hydrants on. You know what I'm saying? Outside with the water flight. Growing up back then versus now is way different. We was really outside. So we got a chance to really be, we playing tag, we doing house parties, you know what I'm saying, when it was safe, you feel me? We outside, doing swimming, going to the rec centers and all that. So like overall, like my main part of my childhood was decent. Things got kind of a little tricky around like eighth grade going into high school. Me and my mom got into it kind of heavy. I ran away, which kind of caused the divide in my family. So I ended up living with my granny. So my granny took care of me from like the end of my eighth grade year um, until I went to college. So it created a lot of issues. I kind of what started my kind of turmoil in my kind of childhood based off that was when a lot of the trauma started for me was when I left.
Eighth grade year.
Eighth grade year is when everything started.
And would you say that's when you felt like you had a life just was given a lot? How would you explain that? Like,
I mean, so like I'm a writer. I've always been a writer, and so for me, writing was kind of like my way to kind of escape because I was always the different one in the family. Like even though I was the oldest, I'm the oldest granddaughter out of like 20, 30 some grandkids. You feel me? But I've always been the different child. I'm the one that likes the alternative music, the rock music, the little country. I'm real diverse. I'm way different than the other kids. So I always felt like okay, like what's wrong with me? I'm the different one. So I always wanted to know like more about who I was and who my father was. And to take it back to like when I'm really thinking about it, like that's what started the divide with me and my mom because it was like, okay, who's my dad? Because I'm not like the rest of the kids, and you telling me my mom told me some real evil shit when it came to like who my father was. So it was always like this weird kind of dynamic with me and her, which kind of started it. So because of that, that's when I started writing because I was really trying to figure out who I was as a person because my mom always kind of segregated me. She was like, "Oh, you have your dad and the other five kids have their own father." So then that was like, okay, well, like, who am I? Because we know who their dad is. He's, been around. So who am I? Who, like, what? Where's my other half? What? I got to know who my dad is because maybe that's where I'm so different. So because I kind of felt so different from everybody else, that's when I really started to write.
and at what point could you say you picked up your pen to start writing? And what triggered that first time you feeling or finding that as your escape?
Ooh, junior high. No, yeah, like probably right before junior high. Because like I said, my mom, it was like this big secret of who my father was. So it was like, oh, pick a dad. You know, at first it was pick one. Then it was your dad died eating a chicken bone. He choked on a chicken bone. Then it was your dad is Magic Johnson. That's when I started writing. It was like the end of elementary school going into junior high. My mom told me my dad was Magic Johnson. So I used to write letters to the NBA. I used to write him letters like, hey, I know you're my father, but you know, I don't want anything from you. I just want to know a little bit about your background so I know why I'm so different. And so that's what kind of started it. And then it went from that to it was so many like little stories she told me growing up, but it came, me starting to write came from a place of hurt, but it also came from a place of me trying to figure out who I was as a person.
Was it hard for you to be vulnerable in your writing?
No, I've always been open. I'm a Gemini, so and like I said, I've always been different than the others. Like my mom was really and I keep talking past tense because my mom died 3 years ago. So she was always kind of like, it's okay, I appreciate it. She was always kind of like to herself. So she was like real reserved. Like my mom had the glasses. She didn't really speak too much, and I was just a boop 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 bubbly kid. Like I'm out, I'm open, I'm talking to everybody. I was a child that got popped all the time because for talking too much. I was that child. I was that child. So it's never been an issue with me being vulnerable or like being open in like my writing or just me as a person in general.
When you reflect on everything, looking back on everything, um, I know you said that it started out of a place of hurt. Um, Looking back, is there something that a piece of wisdom, game, or something that you did get from your mom that you could be like, in the long run, that did help me?
I mean, I feel like the some of the trauma she caused helped push me to be the woman I am. I feel like in everything you go through in life, you got to go through something to really appreciate the things that you do have. So like for me, I feel like just artists in general tend to write good music, write good poetry, write good novels, movies, all that when it's coming from a place of hurt, coming from a place of pain. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like some of that trauma that I've been through was like, it was good. It definitely comes out in my writing. It's definitely one thing now where like people will read and be like, yo, like, I'm not the only one, or damn, I would have never broke it down like this, but I'm glad you did because I went through XYZ. So, one thing my mom always told me, and she told me on her deathbed, like, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to protect you, whether you feel like I'm doing what's right or wrong, just because that's what I'm supposed to do as your mother. And it took me becoming a parent, it took me really understanding what she was saying on her deathbed for me to really understand that message. It took years. It took years for me to really understand it and grasp it. But like I said, me trying to really figure out who I was just helped like me really start writing more, because you tap into so many different levels when you're really trying to figure out who you are. And then when you, like, so to speak, don't know a piece of you, because me not knowing who my father was a big part of my life, because I know my mom, I look just like my mom, like I have her whole face. So it was a big thing for me.
Looking back at that junior high age range, going into high school, when you do depart from your mom, for yourself, from the woman you are today, what would be the best wisdom or game you would have gave your younger self to maybe help you navigate through life? Not saying that you regret anything in your life, but if you could give yourself any piece of advice, what would it be?
Be patient. I don't have patience. I still don't. I ain't even gonna lie to you, but be patient. I feel like my mom was trying to figure out who she was during that time frame. My mom had me when she was 21, 22. So my mom was still trying to figure out who she was as a woman. So I think sometimes we don't give each other enough grace. So that's something I would tell people too, like, give people grace. You never know what someone's going through. You never know what someone's been through. And just because I'm an open person does not mean you're an open person. And my mom was definitely not an open person. She was definitely And I feel like that's another reason why I'm so open is because my mom was the complete opposite. She was a closed book. She kept her business to herself. Didn't nobody know who she talked to, how she moved, her money, any of that situation. You would never know just looking at my mom because she kept everything to herself. So I feel like you have to give people grace because people deal with trauma different, people deal with pain different, people deal with love different. So how I am is not going to be how you are or anybody else is going to be. So I feel like people have to give each other more grace. You definitely have to be more patient. I'm still working on that. God ain't done with me yet. So I'm still working on it.
For sure, for sure. Outside of your writing, what are some ways that you could say help you, navigate some of that trauma or some of that pain through relationships, through life? What would you say?
I mean, writing is definitely a big one. Besides writing, gospel music, I love gospel music. That is like my go-to for everything. We were raised in church. Used to sing in the choir. I used to teach Sunday school. I was assistant secretary Sunday school, lead singer of the youth choir, like youth direct. I was super heavy in the church. So that's a big thing. My kids play football, so I'm definitely 100% a football mom. I like to give back. I was a camp mom for years, a teen mom. So I definitely love giving back to the community. I love football, so I love getting out there with the kids and the boys and like hyping them up, being like a positive role model, because I feel like there's not enough of that nowadays. It's so many people that are like, don't tell my child nothing, don't do the woo woo woo. But growing up, we had that. We had the grandmas that were like, hey, maybe you're not supposed to do that. We had the neighbors that was like, okay, I'm gonna tell your mama when I see her. We don't have enough of that. People are so quick to be like, don't be in my business, don't do that. No, but it really takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to help grow people, and I feel like we don't have enough of that. So I try to like give back and be out there with the kids and try to help and mentor as much as I can.
Somebody's watching this right now. Anybody? What's the go-to gospel song that they should listen to? They having a hard day. It's fresh off of work. You just had one of them days. I'm in the car. It's traffic. It's 113 degrees in Las Vegas.
Something about the name Jesus. It's something about that song that triggers me every time. Like I could be in the best mood, and it's something about when they get to that end, and it just hits my soul, and I cry every time. It's something about his name. They say all you need is the faith of a mustard seed for him to just come in and do his work. And sometimes that's all you need is just that little bit to just kind of get you through. But that's definitely my go-to gospel song.
Now, how has motherhood changed your writing?
So I have 3 babies. Only one is biologically mine, which is my youngest son. I met his brother, which is my middle son, Amir, when he was 7 days old. My son's father had a baby on the way. Should have ran, but I didn't. So I met Amir when he was 7 days old. So he was my baby 2 years before I had a baby. So he was like the bridge into helping me become a mother and see what it was like. But when I had Stefan, I almost lost Stefan twice before he was born. So it was a battle. Even though I had a very easy pregnancy, it was rough because I was a high-risk pregnancy. So for me, like, especially during that time of my relationship with my son's father, we definitely were not seeing eye to eye. So I thought I was going to end up a single parent. And I told him, like, at the very beginning, like, if you want to leave, shorty, deuces. You know what I'm saying? My mama raised 6 kids by herself, right, wrong, or indifferent. So best believe I could raise one. So I kind of prepped myself to be a single mother. So, like, the beginning of my pregnancy, I was depressed. I was super depressed. Like, I kept trying to, like, pull myself together to, like, be like, okay, you got this. Like, you strong enough. You got this. You got this. It's just another hurdle you got to jump. So when my son was born, right before he was born, he was tying his cord around his neck. So I was having to go to the doctors back and forth. So when he was actually born, his cord was around his neck. So I was in shock. Yeah. Like, I didn't cry, nothing. I was just holding him like,
you hear?
Like, this is life. Like I did this. This is life. Like, this is life. Stefan is my whole world. Like, he definitely, My baby, I could talk for hours about my son. I really can. That child is my life. He is what makes me a better person. He's what makes me strive to be a better me. He's definitely taught me patience. He's definitely taught me about, now that he's a teenager, about oversharing, because I'm definitely an open book. So he's definitely like, Ma, no, because Stefan is very, very passive, and he's very like reserved, like my mom was. Um, he's definitely helped teach me like some of the lessons I feel like I wish my mom would have been more patient with. I wish my mom would have been more understanding, but we were also at two different ages and I feel like two different levels when I had Stefan versus when she had me. And then I also still to this day don't know the circumstances behind my birth, like the backstory about her and my dad and how I came to pass. So I feel like with Stefan, like Stefan came from a place of love. Stefan came from a place of want, and Stefan was what I needed in order for me to be the woman that I am. So I honestly feel like if my son was not here, I would have spiraled out of control. I also feel like he is kind of the bridge to make me kind of want to do more for other kids too, because he's like, I remember when he was young, when he was just like, people need a mom like you. I love you. And then like being young, like he saw the dynamic with me and my mom too. So he was just like, no, like mom, I love you. You a good mom. More people need more moms like you. And ultimately, that's how I got my oldest son, was running the football camp, and some things happened with his mom, and he ended up staying with me. So
That's dope. That's dope. I think a lot of people do need people in their life like that, because everybody's so shut off.
they are, and I think if people really take the time to really talk to people, they'll understand that your situation is a lot like mine, or mine is like yours,
Right.
or maybe there's something you going through that you need to hear from me. Because I know, like with my oldest Corey, like it's definitely things that he's going through and things that he's going through with his biological mom, where he's just like, I'm like, baby, I'm trying to warn you because I've been there, done that. I went through this whole, and I tell him all the time, I know God placed me in your life for a reason, because everything that I was going through, you've pretty much been through. Not to the extent, not, and some of it not as bad as some of his is worse than what I went through, but we have very similar situations when it comes to our mom, our dad, and I needed to be in his life. And now he's doing great. Like when he first came to me, that was the only time since he had been in school he hadn't been kicked out every quarter. So, I feel like everything happens for a reason, good,
Right.
bad, or indifferent. It definitely happens for a reason. We just have to take the lesson in it. And if we don't learn the lesson, that's why it keeps getting repeated. So,
Right. Right. Now, yo, poetry.
hmm
You got books out.
I do. I got books. I got
Let's talk
books
about
for
it.
sale. I got books for sale.
What inspired the writing of the book? When did you start writing it?
Ooh, okay. So, Sins of Love was not the original book that was supposed to come out. The first book that was actually supposed to come out was Memoirs of a Gemini, which is pretty much a collection of poems about myself, because I've written short stories, but I've always been really good in poem form. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a book of poems, something different, not roses are red, violets are blue, just like real, authentic words from the heart. So, Memoirs of a Gemini, I started writing it and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna let it be. So I left Cali 2017, and I moved here. I was ending my relationship with my son's father, which was 9.5 years. I was going through depression. I was not in a good space. I needed to get away from that energy in order to be able to raise my son and feel like that I could be a good mom. So that's when I moved to Vegas. I ended up getting a job working for the owner of Zappos, Tony Shea, rest in peace. I love that man to death. And he had like a book that was on New York Times bestsellers, about how his life was and whatnot. So when I met him, I was in transition of trying to like be a better me. And so he was like, let me see your work. And I let him see, some of my writing. He was like, this is good. This is good. So I was like, boom, okay. I'm going to go ahead and put out my book. And he was like, no, when the time is right, things will work itself out. So 2020, I started writing. I was like, okay, I'm going to put my book out 2020. My dad died Father's Day weekend.
Sorry for your loss.
So crushed me. And, that was the time when I had just started my company, PPP, all that came out. So, boom, we on grind mode. We thriving. We balling out of control right now. So I'm crashing. I'm spiraling. I go back home. I'm staying with my step parents in Homewood, which is the south suburbs of Chicago. I'm with my sister from my dad's side, my brothers. I'm grieving. I got my son with me, and I'm crashing. So I started to write, and then I stopped. So then I come back. November, boom, Tony dies. So then I start spiraling out of control again, because that's my boss. He was, what helped rebuild me. So fast forward next year, okay, I kind of get back. I'm in the flow. I'm writing. Boom, I find out my mom has cancer. Boom, 2022, mom dies of cancer. Like, what the hell? Boom. Start writing again right after, because now it's fresh. I need to not crash out, because now both of my parents are gone. I need to not completely crash, because this child needs me.
Right.
So I start writing again. Boom, tonsils swell up. I gotta have surgery. Stop breathing on the table. So boom. So I'm like, okay, keep trying to overcome these obstacles. Okay, devil, I see you trying to stop me, because I'm getting hit back to back to back to back. So start trying to heal. Start writing again. My son goes into the hospital the exact same day my mom went into the hospital. Son catches 5 respiratory infections and kidney shut down. My son almost dies on me. Shut me down again. So I'm like, okay, we gonna keep rolling. We gonna keep rolling. So I start writing again. Then I get hurt at work. End up having to have surgery. Tear the muscle in my elbow. I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna push through. So then I'm writing. Then my brother gets into a car accident, a motorcycle accident, almost loses his life. He loses his leg at 30 something, above the knee amputation. So, and then that was right after I had the surgery. So I was like, skip it. I'm doing, I'm push through, and I'm writing. I released the book. I'm like, I'm gonna just take all these issues, all this drama, devil, I'm not gonna let you stop me. And I finally finished it. So ultimately it took me 4 years from start to finish the book. But it was just because life be lifing. But you still have to push through. And just because something hits you and trauma hits you, or death hits you, or life hits you, jobs, like everything, you still have to keep moving. And I did. And so I'm so proud of this project.
What was the feeling like when you finished it?
I cried so much. Just tears of joy, tears of just being like, finally, because like I felt it. Like I could hear Tony being like, when the time is right, the time will show itself. And when I say everything lined itself up, because when I had this surgery last year, I was in a bed for like 30 days. I was hooked to a machine, so it had to cool for 30 minutes and heat for 45 minutes. So I'm strapped to this machine all day. So I'm in bed. So I'm just writing. And when I say like everything was lining itself up, from me hitting copyright to the guy who did my cover, like him designing it. When I say everything just flowed and worked itself out and aligned, I was like, God, okay, I see like you ordering my steps. You're putting me in position for everything to kind of work itself out, and for things to go in the way in the direction that we're supposed to go. So it was a blessing. It was definitely a blessing.
Sins of love.
Yes, sins of love.
I know all of them. I mean, babies. What is the one that when they open the book, this is going to be the one that you're going to be hooked to?
Potential. So Potential is definitely that poem that, which is the one that I actually perform the most. I actually wrote Potential. Potential was actually like one of the last poems I wrote, because I was dating someone last year before before the surgery happened, and he just seemed like everything. Like he was definitely everything I needed in that season. And like the communication was great, the attraction was great. It was just some little stuff that just was not pinging. It just was not pinging. And I was just like, dang, like you have it. Like you have all the potential to be my husband. Like you really do. But I've seen in the past that you can't ignore them red flags. So when he give you those red flags, listen to him. And I felt like it was also a test to see if I really paid attention and if I really learned my first lesson. So
So was it red flags from past relationships that you were like, oh, I've seen this pattern before?
and not so much the same pattern. It's when you know what's right for you.
Right.
And you know what is good and what isn't bad, and you know what you can deal with and you can't deal with. So I knew from the beginning it was certain things that he was telling me and doing. I'm like, mm-mm. Like, for instance, me and my son's father do not have the same religion. So I always said from that point on, I will never date anyone outside of my religion. No disrespect to anybody or their religion or what you believe. It's just for me, I feel like it's more complicated when you're trying to bridge two religions into a household. And it was hard. And it caused issues and tension within our household. So I said I would not do that again. And I'm not super religious, but God is my everything. He is my rock. It is him before me at all times. And I'm definitely one of those people that promote that. If you're on my social medias, you'll see I always start my whole stories with God first and foremost. So I'm definitely more spiritual than I am religious, but I was raised in the church, and he was definitely one of those people who like, fuck Jesus. And I'm like, whoa, like, baby, slow down. You know what I'm saying? But all the other boxes were checking. And I'm just like, whew, can I really deal with somebody that just like, you can't say that. Like, I'm gonna have to take you to church. And he's like, no, the church gonna catch on fire. And I'm just like, whew, you got so much potential to be everything I need, but am I going to take a major aspect and a major thing that I said I was not going to do and fall back just because you hit a couple of the other boxes? And I was like, nah, but you got that potential. You definitely got that potential. You definitely had my eyes open. You definitely had my heart open. But once I started to see that, I had to walk away.
So you would say that is what drove you to write Potential?
That is definitely what drove me. So, so one thing about, so this book, I was a psych major, so I'm very big on to like learning about people and how they think and what drives them. So so Sins of Love is my interpretation of love and heartbreak in correlation with the stages of death and dying. So there's 5 stages. You have anger, you have denial, you have bargaining, you have depression, and then you finally have acceptance. So I take those chapters and I take poems that correlate with that. So I have poems about accepting like your situation. Then I have poems about being angry and really showing that anger. I have poems about being in denial. So I feel like this book takes every part of love, but not the good stuff. It's because everybody wants the fairy tales and all that, but we need to talk about the bad stuff in order to heal and move and figure out what we need to do to get to that love that we're looking for. So we need to talk about that husband that is messing with that other woman. We need to talk about that woman that is okay being the other woman that finally talks to the wife. We need to talk about that friend that is being fake with the other friend. We need to talk about that sibling that is not showing that same love that you're giving to them. You need to talk about every type of love, not just man and woman. I'm talking about from a mother to a child, from a dad to a son, from a friend to a friend. So I feel like this book really touches and grasps on every, when I say it talks about all the bad stuff, like I get in there, I get very open, I get very vulnerable, but I can listen to someone's situation and write about it like it's mine. So there's stories in here that are not my stories, but they're people close to me or situations that I've been around or stories that I've heard where I'm just like, dang, whew, like, okay, right. I feel for you, and I feel for you enough where I can write about it.
Where can they find your book?
So it is on Amazon. It's in an audiobook form if you don't like to, because on Amazon there's an ebook, a hardback, and a paperback book. It's There's an audiobook that's on 37 audio streaming platforms. It's in 5 different languages if you don't speak English. The audiobook is in my voice. If you reach out to me, I will get you a copy, signed copy. So I mean, however you want to do it. If there's a will, there's a way. My website, I am Loveletta, LUVLETA.com, is under wraps right now. It's in the process of being built, and the books will be on there as well. And the next books to come will be on there as well too.
Before we get out of here, I'd like to give the people I interview the opportunity to go ahead and pop their shit to the camera in any way. You could promote whatever, you could give wisdom or anything like that. So this is your opportunity to go ahead and talk to the people.
Okay, well, first off, let me say, if you have a dream, don't give up. Keep going, keep going. Sometimes it get rough, sometimes it's crazy. Just make sure you continue to work at it. When the time is right, God will definitely align your steps for everything to work out. Stay tuned for my next books for sure. Sense of Love is out now, so if you haven't grabbed it, go ahead and grab it. The Rise and Fall of My Artist is the next book. Next year, be looking for a 12-book series, starting with Daughter of a Pisces. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. In the process of my alcohol line starting. So I got big things moving. So definitely check me out, look for me. And I'm also doing different things when it comes to poetry. Check out my mic drop that I shot with Millie X, that is on YouTube, for the poem Potential. But yeah, I'm doing big things with poetry. So stay tuned. I'm the new wave.
Man, for the people who are watching, we do want to say thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend. If you want to see all this, interviews early, dope content, streams, everything, man, become a member, man. Join the family. Before we get out here, I want to say I do appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm glad when you came in, you said you was nervous, especially because I don't give nobody no rundowns of what I'm doing.
Definitely didn't.
And so I'm glad that you was a team player. You were so open. I learned a lot about you, and I'm greatly appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Yes, ma'am. Well, again, man, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and we out.